In this lesson, we will look at the animal nutrition, which is your chapter number 5. All animal needs to eat food to give them nutrition that will be used every day. So, an animal digestive system is designed to break down and absorb these nutrition. So, we need something in the digestive system that will be able to break down our food and that will be able to provide energy so that we can absorb that energy from the food. Before we move on, that's something we have in the digestive system, sorry, in the human body, is your teeth. Teeth will help break down our food so that we can obtain energy from them, right? So the key terminology before we move on is your herbivore, carnivores and omnivores. Herbivores are animals that eat only plants or parts of the plants. Then we have carnivores. Carnivores are the animal that only eats other animals or remains of the other animals. And then we have omnivores. Omnivores are animals that eat plant animals or dead animal flesh. So these are the omnivores. Herbivores only eat plant, carnivores only eat animals or other remains, and omnivores eat both plants, animals and dead animals flesh, like your fish. Next, type of teeth. There are four types of teeth found in animal. These are your incisors, canines, molars and premolars. They have different structures and functions. Incisors, they are chisel shaped and they are used for biting and cutting of food. Then we have canines. They are pointed in structure. These are used for catching, holding, tearing or killing prey. These teeth are found in animals, including humans. Premolars, they are flat and uneven and they are used for grinding and crushing of the food. Then we have molars. They are also flat and uneven and they are also used for the grinding and crushing of the food. Then we have carnassial teeth. Carnassial teeth are the specialized molars and premolars with jagged or triangular edges. They are used for the cutting of the meat. So these are the four types of teeth found in the animals: your incisors, canines, premolars and molars. And premolars and molars, specialized type is your carnassial teeth. Here is the diagram which is representing your four types of teeth. So this is the front teeth, these are your incisors. Then next we have canines. The two teeth in blue are your canines. Then we have two pairs of teeth on the right and left hand side. These are your premolars. And then three teeth at the back. These are your molars. These are found in the human. Human dental formula. Teeth are vital component of physical digestion. Arrangement of teeth in human is represented by the dental formula. So 2 is to 1 is to 2 is to 3 over 2 is to 1 is to 2 is to 3, which means human beings have two incisors, one canines, two premolars and three molars, as we've seen in the diagram above, in the upper jaw and in the lower jaw. And it is exactly in the same ratio. So 2 is to 1 is to 2 is to 3. Two incisors, one canine, two premolars and three molars in the upper half of the jaw and the lower half of the jaw. And in total, human beings have 32 teeth. Shape and types of teeth that animal has given a good indication of the type of food that animal can consume. So your teeth shape will tell you that what type of food you want to consume or required for your body. A comparison of teeth for different types of nutrition. So let's see. Animals, that those animals which are herbivores, what type of teeth they will have. The carnivores and omnivores, what type of teeth they will have, because teeth differ based on the types of nutrition. So herbivores, they use incisors to cut the plant material. So they herbivores eat plants. They use incisors, which is used to cut the plant materials. They usually lack canines and use molars and premolars to grind food. So they only need to cut and to grind food, right? So to cut we have incisors, and to grind food we have molars and premolars, and canines will be absent in the herbivores eating organisms. Then we have carnivores. Carnivores use incisors to slice and shred meat. These carnivores are the animal eating organisms. Then large well developed canines are used for catching, holding and tearing meats, and then molars and premolars are modified to form the carnassial teeth. So carnivores have incisors, they will have canines, they will have molars and premolars. Then we have omnivores. Omnivores have teeth that are modified for eating both plants and material and meat, similar to those of in the human. So we do eat plants, we do eat animals, we do eat the dead flesh of other animals. So human beings, they have all four types of teeth: molars, premolars, incisors and canines, and they also have the specialized form of the carnassial teeth. Then look at this diagram. Herbivore sheep, that this is how the jaw look like of the sheep. This is how the jaw of omnivore human look like, and the carnivore leopard looks like. So these are the typical dentitions of herbivore, omnivores and carnivores. Okay, these exercises with the answers will be provided on Stuvia. You can download those from there. I will be providing link in the description. Let's move on. Human nutrition. Before we move on, we need to understand some of the terminology so we can understand exactly what the each of the parts mean, or the textbook says. So bolus is a ball-like mixture of food and saliva that forms in the mouth during the process of chewing. Bile is a fluid produced by liver, and it is stored in gallbladder, and it aids in digestion of lipids in small intestine. Then we have exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Exocrine glands are the glands that uses ducts to drain and transport secretions or chemical out of the body or onto the body surface, and endocrine gland secretes hormones directly into the blood streams or lymphatic systems instead of through the duct. So exocrine gland example is your sweat gland. So the sweat comes out of the body onto the surface of the human body. So that is the sweat gland, is the example of exocrine gland. Then we have peristalsis, an automatic wave of muscles contraction and relaxation that moves food in one direction through the digestive tract. So that is known as your peristalsis. When we swallow food, that the with the movement of peristalsis, that is your automatic contraction and relaxation, the food will go from the mouth after swallowing into the stomach. Chyme, it is a semi-liquid mass of partially digested food which has gone through the mechanical chemical digestion while the passing through the stomach into your duodenum. So after the stomach, it will go into the part of intestine, duodenum. So that thing will be called chyme when it is the chemically and mechanically digest or processed, and it is in form of the semi-liquid. Villus, or plural is villi. These are your tiny finger-like projections lining the wall of the small intestine and increasing the surface area of the food absorption. Then ingestion mean to take in food. Digestion mean for that food to break down using the chemical and physical processes in the simplest form. Absorption mean now the digestive food will diffuse into the bloodstream. That means absorption is taking place. Assimilation, nutrients such as your amino acid are incorporated into the cell. This is your assimilation. Then egestion and defecation. These are the removal of undigested or unabsorbed waste from the body through the anus in form of your feces. So these are very important terms you must know when you are looking at the human nutrition lesson. Let's move on to the digestive system. Digestive system, very easy. We all know since the childhood. Digestive system is used to digest our food, which will break down your complex molecule into the simplest form to be absorbed in the body to sustain life so we can get energy, right? Digestive system, or all the food we consume will be digested in the human digestive system. What is the human digestive made of? We will look at this in the detail in this lesson. Human digestive system is made up of an alimentary canal, that is your tube from mouth to anus, an accessory organ like your liver, pancreas, that aids in the digestive process. Let's look at the figure. So this is the figure representing your human digestive system. Sorry. Okay, so this is the mouth. We will consume food from here. Then we have the mouth cavity, the salivary gland. All the saliva will be secreted from the salivary gland. So the question I have for you is the salivary gland exocrine gland or endocrine gland? Let me write it. You must tell me in the comment section. Is the salivary gland exocrine or endocrine? This is the question for you. Then we have pharynx, we have esophagus. This is where your peristalsis process will take place. These muscles will contract and relax automatically so that food from the mouth can be traveled down to the stomach. Then all the chemical and physical digestion will take place here, and the liquid, semi-liquid part, which is your chyme, will move from here to the here. Your duodenum, you're the part of the intestine. So this is your duodenum, right? So bolus will come down from the mouth through the peristalsis. It will travel your esophagus into the stomach. Then from the stomach, chyme will travel into the duodenum. So liver, stomach, pancreas, jejunum, duodenum, transverse column, gallbladder, liver, ascending column, rectum, anus, ileum. This is the part of small intestine. Descending colon, esophagus, pharynx, salivary gland, then mouth cavity. These are all part of the human digestive system. Let's see. Digestive system is the 5-step process. First we will eat food, that means ingestion. Then that food will be broken down into the simplest form, that is your digestion. Ingestion, we take in food. Digestion, we break down that food. Absorption, that broken down food will go into your blood vessels, that is your absorption. Then we have assimilation and egestion. Assimilation, then all the nutrients like proteins and lipid will be absorbed, and egestion, all the waste material will come out. So this is a flow diagram representing the 5 main steps of the digestive process: your ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. Now we looked at the different structures of human digestive system. Now we need to understand what is the function of each of the structure. Why do we have mouth as a part of your human digestive system? Why we have esophagus? Why we have pharynx as a part of human digestive system? Then we have stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, so many organs. Why do we need them in the digestive system? Why can't I make them the part of the cardiovascular system or your nervous system? Why didn't I say that mouth is the part of nervous system? Let's look at the function. They all serve a typical function. Mouth cavity consists of many parts. Your teeth, which break down and grind food. Tongue, which mixes food and it is used for swallowing of food. Hard and soft palate, which forms the roof of mouth. Salivary gland, which releases the saliva, which contain enzymes, your carbohydrates, to break down your carbohydrate. Drases, this one. In the ending of any enzyme, ases means to break down. So carbohydrates mean it will break down carbohydrate. Lipases mean it will break down lipids, right? So in the salivary gland, the enzymes present is carbohydrates, which mean it will break down your carbohydrate, right? Then we have tongue. In the mouth cavity, we have teeth to break down or grind food. Tongue, which will help us swallow the food. Okay, next we have pharynx and esophagus. After the food is swallowed, that bolus in the mouth, it is swallowed and it moves into the pharynx, which is the tube used to take in food and air. What will happen? Peristalsis will take place. What was peristalsis? It was the contraction and relaxation of the muscles so that esophagus can push down the food into the stomach. Food goes down the esophagus into the stomach. That is the function of pharynx and esophagus. The food moves down the larynx where the epiglottis, a cartilage flap, stops food from going into trachea. It mustn't go in stomach. It mustn't go in lungs. It must go in stomach. So it mustn't go down the pipe of trachea into the lungs, but it must go into the larynx, the pharynx, the pipe which is used to take in food and air, and from pharynx to esophagus and to the stomach. Now we are moved with peristalsis into the stomach. What happens in the stomach? It is a muscular sac with thick walls. It has hydrochloric acid, or also known as your gastric acid, and enzymes, and it will churn food and mix it with gastric acid, and the thing that will come up is your chyme. Then the food will turn into your mixture called chyme, with all the hydrochloric acids and enzymes being mixed up with the food for the food to be broken down. The stomach has two sphincters. These are just ring of muscles to close the tube. So on each opening, the opening which is going down from the stomach to the your intestine, there is a sphincter, and opening which is coming from esophagus to the stomach, there is a sphincter which will open and close so that the digested food can pass through. Then we have liver and gallbladder. Liver cell produce bile which is stored in the gallbladder until being released into the duodenum of small intestine. Bile has a number of functions in digestion. Number 1, bile emulsifies large fat globules into small droplets, fat droplets, which aids in digestion. Then it neutralizes the acid fluid which comes from the stomach. It promotes peristalsis in small intestine. It acts as an antiseptic which prevents decay of food and particles in the small intestine. So these are the function of bile. It will help in digestion. It will help in breaking down of your fat molecules, your lipid molecules, and it will act as your antiseptic so that your food particles won't decay in the small intestine. Pancreas, another structure present in the digestive system. Pancreas will secrete your pancreatic juice which digests your carbohydrates, proteins and lipids in small intestine. Pancreatic juice secretion is through your pancreatic glands or exocrine glands in nature. Also, it neutralizes chyme from the stomach and controls blood sugar level in the body. Blood sugar level will be controlled through your endocrine gland. Then we have small intestine. The small intestine in human is 6 meters long and it is divided into 3 parts: your duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum is the first portion which receives bile from the liver and pancreatic juices from the pancreas. Then we have jejunum, which is the middle portions which secretes intestinal juice, and duodenum is the final portion, which is the region of the most absorption in the small intestine. So duodenum, jejunum and ileum. The small intestine has a transverse folds and microscopic villi, which greatly increases the surface area of absorption. So these are also the part of the intestine. Then we have colon. Colon is also known as your large intestine, which is again divided into three parts: ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. So this is how it looks like: ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon, and then the food goes out. And here, like this, all the small intestine is present, right? And here is your okay. Now colon. Colon is divided into ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. Most water and mineral salt are absorbed in the colon, and descending colon leads to the rectum, which is followed by your anus, where undigested food is ingested. Anus, this part is your anus. From here, your ascending colon, your small intestine will come here, and ascending colon will start, then transverse colon, then your descending colon, because it is coming downwards, and then from descending colon it will go out through the anus and it will be ingested. So these are the different parts of the human digestive system and the function of each of the structure. Now again we have questions on the digestive system, which will be provided in the Stuvia with answers. I will suggest you can download those files and you can practice these for the exams. We have marks allocated for you, so you will know that how much of the weightage it will take in the exam if this question comes up in the exam. Okay, now digestion. We will look at digestion in detail. So before moving on, let's again look at the key terminologies. Mastication, it is described, mastication is a process to chew food. When we are chewing food, we are masticating. Then we have enzyme, a protein that acts as a catalyst to regulate or speed up most of the biochemical reaction in the living organism. These are your enzymes. Emulsions, a fine dispersion of minute droplets of one liquid in another, in which it is not soluble or miscible. For example, fat and oils and water. This is your emulsion. They are not soluble in each other. Then we have carbohydrates. A's mean to break down. Carbohydrates mean an enzyme which will catalyze or break down carbohydrate into the simple sugar in the body. A's mean to break down. Then we have protease. Protease, prot mean protein, small form of protein, prot. Protease will break down proteins into amino acid. Carbohydrate will break down, this is the sugar, right? Carbohydrates will break down carbohydrate into the simple sugar, which is your glucose in the human body. Then lipase. A's mean to break down, lip, short form of lipid, so it will break down lipids. Lipid will be broken down into glycerols and fatty acids. Smallest form, the simple form of lipid is your glycerols and fatty acids. So chain of glycerol and fatty acids will form your lipids. Chains of amino acids will form your proteins. Then proteins will be broken down into amino acids, and lipids will be broken down into your glycerols and fatty acids. So A's mean to break down. Carbohydrates will break down carbohydrate, protease will break down proteins, and lipase will break down your lipid. Then we have lacteal, a lymph capillary and villi of the small intestine where fats are absorbed. These are your lacteal capillaries, or lacteal duct as we say. Then we have deamination, which means that removal of amino acid from the amino group from the amino acids. So here you can see amine. amina, right? Amino group. D mean to remove. Ation mean the process of removing. So deamination mean to remove the amino group from amino acid. Removal of an amino group from amino acid is deamination. Metabolism, chemical process that occurs within a living organism in order to maintain life. Metabol mean to process chemicals. Now, we have types of digestion. We have mechanical or physical digestion. We have chemical digestion. In mechanical digestion, we don't need enzymes, right? Mechanical digestion is physical breakdown of large food particles into the smaller one. So when we chew food in the mouth, we are using teeth to break down the food particles into the simple form. So this is your mechanical or physical digestion. There is no chemical in the teeth, right? Physical digestion does not alter the chemical structure of compounds, but it increases the surface area. So we are chewing. Mastication is example of mechanical digestion, but we have salivary glands in the mouth which will release your carbohydrates, right? So that will be form of your chemical digestion, right? Because the chemical is being released so that food can be more broken down in the smaller form or the simplest form. Then again here, physical digestion occurs during mastication, churning in the stomachs, and during the peristalsis. These are example of physical or mechanical digestions. Food is moved through the digestive system by rhythmic contraction and relaxation of circular muscles along alimentary canal. This process is called your peristalsis. We already discussed this. Peristalsis is the reflex action and it is triggered by the presence of food in the alimentary canal. So here you can see your esophagus. This is the bolus which is coming down from the mouth, and green arrows mean relaxing, and then blue arrows mean contracting. So food is coming down from the contraction and relaxation process. This is example of the mechanical digestion or physical digestion, which does not involve any enzymes. No enzymes are being released in the esophagus. Now, peristalsis will still transport food and water to your stomach even if you stand on your head. This is a fact. Once the bolus reaches the stomach, it is physically broken down further by the strong contraction of the stomach muscles. The bolus is also mixed with stomach acid and digestive enzymes which form a creamy mixture called chyme. We have discussed this earlier too. Then lipids are broken down by the bile into the tiny droplet which provides a large surface area on which enzymes can act to break them down. The breaking down of lipid into tiny droplet is called emulsification. Emulsification means the emulsion which have your oils and fat which doesn't mix together, right? So it will only be broken down, and it is also a type of physical digestion. Then we have chemical digestion. Chemical digestion, enzymes will be involved in your chemical digestion because chemicals are involved, right? We need something to break them down, to calm them down, right? Chemical digestion is breaking down of large food compounds into the smaller food compound using digestive enzymes. Most food particles are too large to be absorbed from the alimentary canal into the blood, so we require chemical digestion, right? We will break down these food particles using chemicals to even smaller particles. Then enzymes. Enzymes are very sensitive to change in temperature, pH, and it only works in the optimal temperature. So if the temperature is too high or too low, enzymes won't work. Okay, so here is a summary of a group of enzymes and where they are produced and substrate they break down, and optimal pH and the end product of digestions are discussed. Now, group of enzymes, we have carbohydrases, proteases, and lipases in digestive system. Carbohydrases, we said that it breaks down carbohydrate. Proteases break down proteins. Lipases break down lipids. right? So the substrate, the thing the breakdown is for the carbohydrate or starch, for protease proteins, for lipases lipid. Into lipid will be broken down into your glycerol and fatty acid, as we discussed, proteins into your amino acids, and carbohydrate into your glucose. So we know substrate and the end product of digestion. Now, since we are using enzymes, we must know where these enzymes are produced. Carbohydrates will be present in your saliva, your pancreatic juice, intestinal juice, and the preferred pH is alkaline. So in the saliva, pancreas and intestine, the pH is alkaline because of their juices are present. Then protease, stomach, pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. So in the stomach, the preferred pH of the enzyme is acidic, and again we said in the intestine, where your intestinal juices and pancreatic juices are, it will be alkaline in the small intestine and acidic in stomach. Then we have lipases, which are produced in pancreatic juices and intestinal juices, and their pH will be slightly alkaline. So this table is very important for the exam. If you know this, you know all the enzymes, where they produce, what they produce, and the pH, the optimal pH for their production in the digestive system. Then let's look at this. Chemical digestion of large molecule into the smaller compound. Protein molecule is made up of different amino acids. Starch molecule is made up of many glucose molecules, and fatty molecule is made up of fatty acid and glycerol molecules. So again they have discussed the same thing. Protein molecules use proteases to break down proteins into amino acids. Starch molecule carbohydrates to break down carbohydrate molecule into glucose. Lipases, which contain fatty acid and glycerol, will break down fat molecule in glycerol and fatty acid. Again we have the activity for the stages of animal nutrition, which will be available on Stuvia. Now let's move on to the absorption. Most absorption take place in the small intestine. Why? Because most of the digestion has taken place by the time the food reaches in the small intestine, right? So all the food is being broken down into the smallest particles when it reaches your small intestine. Now, after it is broken down into small particles, what is left? It will go into your bloodstreams. That process of absorbing food from intestine to going into your bloodstream is known as your absorption. So things you need to know about your small intestine to understand the process of absorption is that your small intestine is approximately 6 meters long. The wall of small intestine contain your transverse folds. So these folds, like this, like this, like this, folds will be present in the small intestines. Transverse folds. Inner wall of the small intestine will have a finger-like projection called villi. So these transverse folds, in the transverse fold like this, there will be projections like this. There will be villi, which will increase the surface area so that more absorption can take place, right? And then the villus contains microvilli to further increase the surface area, as I said. Now, villi that are responsible for nutrient absorptions are adapted for absorption in the following way. We know that there are villi present, right? This is your intestinal villi look like. There is the lacteal part, there is the goblet cells, blood capillaries, epithelial cell. This is how the villi look like. This part here, right? This is how it looks like. And then at the bottom they have the lymphatic vessels. You must know how to label this, right? These are the lacteal vessels, lymphatic vessels, goblet cells, blood capillaries, epithelial cells, and villi. Now let's look at how these villi will help in absorption exactly. Epithelium is only one cell layer thick, allowing nutrition to pass through quickly. So there is only epithelium is your one cell. You can see this is the epithelium cell. It is only one cell layered wall, right? So this is it allows rapid absorption. So the food particle being absorbed, for example, your amino acids are being absorbed, right? It only has to pass through this wall. They don't have layers of wall, so this is the only wall they have to pass through, right? Epithelium wall. They don't have layers of wall. It will take time to pass different levels of wall, right? So this only have the single layer. Then goblet cells secrete mucus to ensure absorptive surface is moist and to allow nutrition to be dissolved and then to enter to be absorbed. So you can say that goblet cell will secrete mucus, which will make the epithelium cell surface slippery. So all the nutrition will slip inside and they will be absorbed. Now epithelium contains many mitochondria to supply energy for the active absorption of nutrition. So mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cells with ATP, so they have the supply of energy and they have the active absorption. Microvilli will increase the surface area. So this is the villi. On this small projections, microvilli will then increase the surface area of the cell. Then there is a lymph vessels called lacteal in which in each villus which absorbs the transport lipids. Lacteal will absorb and transports lipids, and villus is richly supplied with your blood capillaries which will transport your glucose and amino acids. So this is how they are adapted. You must know this diagram and you must know what's the purpose of epithelial cell, what is the purpose of goblet cells, why the lacteal gland are there, why the lymphatic vessels. Lymphatic vessels, you can say A and G amino acid plus glucose. Lacteal will be L. Lipids, goblet cell will be slippery. Why? Because it will secrete your mucus. Epithelial, because it is single layered. S, single layer, so there will be quick. QA, quick absorption. So these are the short key points you can use to remember your work, right? Okay, now we will move on here so you can have the proper view of the diagram. I'm just going to erase all the extra notes. These notes will be available on Stovia. Okay, now this is the summary of how and where the end product of the digestion are absorbed. So the active and passive absorption, glucose is the active, and glucose and amino acid is the active process. Glycerol and fatty acid is the passive process, and vitamins, minerals and water. Vitamins and minerals are active and passive absorption. They can go through active and passive, both types of absorption. Water will go through passive absorption, osmosis. And from where these minerals like minerals and vitamins and the molecules like glucose, amino acid will be absorbed. Glucose and amino acids, your vitamins, minerals and water will be absorbed from your blood capillaries, and fatty acid and glycerol will be absorbed from the lacteal category. Now we said that the absorption take place with active process and passive absorption. What's the difference between active absorption and passive absorption? Active absorption requires energy from the nutrients to be absorbed against a concentration gradient. So this is active process. It needs energy. Passive absorption, they don't require energy because it is already moving from high concentration to low concentration. So if I say passive diffusion, it means that glycerol and fatty acid don't need energy to move from high concentration to low concentration, and water also don't need energy. But for your glucose, amino acid, vitamins and minerals to be absorbed, they need energy, right? They will go from low concentration gradient to the high concentration. Now we have the transport of amino acid and glucose. Glucose and amino acid are absorbed from your small intestine and they are transported into the blood circulatory system. Let's look at the flow diagram, which will represent your transport, from where they will start. Amino acid and glucose, we said in the table, they will be absorbed into the blood capillaries of the villi in the small intestine. Then from there, capillaries will join together to form large venules, which will form a hepatic portal vein transport. Hepatic portal vein, right? It will transport your amino acid and glucose to the liver. Then glucose and amino acid will flow through your hepatic portal vein to the heart. So amino acid and then liver converts excess glucose to glycogen and stores it, and excess amino acid are deaminated, mean that amino group will be removed from that amino acid by the liver to form your urea waste product and are removed from the body. Now things to remember in this flow chart to make it even smaller, you can say glucose liver equals, okay, let's write it, liver equals glucose plus plus glycogen, right? This will summarize this step. Now then G plus A hepatic portal vein HPV to your heart. C will form into your venule, which will form your HPV hepatic portal vein, which will transport your amino acids plus your glucose into the liver, right? And then this one was amino acid and glucose are absorbed into blood capillaries of villi in the small intestine. Amino acid plus your glucose absorbed where? In the small intestine. You can write SI, small intestine, right? These are the abbreviations you can use to remember all of this. So amino acid and glucose are absorbed in the small intestine through capillaries. Capillaries will form your venules. Venules will form your hepatic portal vein, which will transport your amino acid and glucose to liver. Then amino acid and glucose from the hepatic portal vein will travel to your heart, and then from in the liver it will convert the extra glucose to your glycogen and it will store it, and then excess amino acid are deaminated by liver to form deaminated by liver to form your urea waste products, and which is removed then from the body. Now we have assimilation. What does this mean? Assimilation is incorporation of absorbed nutrients into the cells of the body. The body cells absorb the required nutrients which are necessary for building and maintenance of compounds. For example, your muscle cells will absorb your amino acid to be converted to proteins and glucose, which will be absorbed by the cell to provide your energy. And then liver, which plays important role in assimilation of the nutrients. Then we have liver, which is responsible for metabolism of glucose, deamination of amino acids, and breakdown of alcohol, drugs, and hormones. This point is very important for the exam. And what is assimilation? This is also you must know, right? Then last step is digestion. Finally, food will come out of the digestive system. All undigested materials are transported through the colon, part of the large intestine, where the most water and mineral salt are absorbed, and then undigested material is temporarily stored in your rectum, last part of the large intestine, until it is excreted through the anus, and the undigested waste is then referred to as your feces. This will bring us to the end of the lesson. Again, these are the activities which will be provided in the Stuvia notes for the digestive system. Thank you for watching.